First Lady Michelle Obama.
We have a bunch of babies running our country, folks. We have a bunch of losers. They're losers. They're babies. We have a president. All he wants to do is campaign. His wife, all she wants to do is campaign. And I see how much his wife likes Hillary. But wasn't she the one that originally started the statement, if you can't take care of your home, right? You can't take care of the White House or the country? Where's that? I don't hear that. I don't hear that. She's the one that started that. I said, we can't say that. It's too vicious. Can you believe it? I said that.
That just happening a few moments ago. We have Fox team coverage. Ed Henry is live here in New York with the latest release from WikiLeaks. And Rich Edson live on the campaign trail with Hillary Clinton in Cleveland, Ohio. But we begin with senior national correspondent John Roberts, live in Newtown, Pennsylvania. John, where do we begin? So much going on and just 18 days left to go.
Oh, my goodness, Sandra. And Donald Trump said it there, said it's too vicious. We won't say that. Oh, goodness, we just said it. I checked with his campaign. That was not in his prepared remarks there in Fletcher, North Carolina today. That was an off-script ad-lib that Donald Trump admitted. And clear that everybody is fair game here in these remaining 18 days as he blitzes all of the battleground states. Plans to take little, if no time off between now and Election Day, sometimes doing 3 and potentially 4 events every day, trying to get the word out, trying to turn around those polls. And our latest Fox News poll showed that he's in a bit of a hole. He's down 6 points to Hillary Clinton, imploring his audience to make sure that they do as much as possible to get every vote out between now and Election Day, if it's absentee or early voting, or to get everybody out on Election Day. Listen to what Trump said.
We cannot take a chance of blowing it. We cannot take a chance. We have something, we're so close. It's a movement like they've never seen in this country before, never ever seen. Don't blow it on November 8th.
Trump said win, lose, or draw. He doesn't want to find himself in a position late into the night on November the 8th or early in the morning on November 9th saying, oh, I wish I had just done one more rally or one more event or sent out one more piece of direct mail. He doesn't have that much work to do to get back to even or ahead with Hillary Clinton in North Carolina. He's down just a little more than 2 points. Here in Pennsylvania, the task is bigger. He's down in the RSBN a little more than 3 events here today.
All right. And
well, the whole night kind of getting mixed reviews. Father Jonathan Morris, our Fox News religion contributor, said today that the night was cringe-worthy, albeit for a good charity. They raised $6 million for Catholic charities. But Donald Trump seemed to enlighten the crowd a little bit, got some good responses to some of his humor, and then at the same time drew the ire of the crowd, who thought that his humor, if it was humor at all, really kind of crossed the line. Here's a couple of examples of where he got a laugh and where he got booed.
Just before taking the dais, Hillary accidentally bumped into me, and she very civilly said, "Pardon me." And I very politely replied, "Let me talk to you about that after I get into office."
Dolan, who was hosting the night, he remarked that his seat there in the middle was, quote, the iciest place on the planet. Sandra?
Fair enough. Hillary Clinton also making an appearance at early voting event happening in Ohio, and former President Bill Clinton also holding a rally today in in Cleveland. Rich.
Yeah, good afternoon, Sandra. And just a couple of hours from now, Hillary Clinton will attend an event at Cuyahoga Community College. A campaign aide says she will meet with 2 activists for the Black Lives Matter movement. This is as Ohio has already started early voting in the state, and this is as the Clinton campaign really needs, as there are skeptics out there who are concerned, at least within Democratic circles, that she won't be able to turn out as much of the Democratic base as President Barack Obama. Here in Ohio, this is Cleveland, it's in Cuyahoga County. Donald Trump has had elsewhere. It's about as close as it can be in Ohio. A new Suffolk University poll puts the race in this state at about 45% for Donald Trump. The same for Hillary Clinton. A month ago, Donald Trump led this very poll by 3 percentage points. Out there on her behalf. Yesterday, it was First Lady Michelle Obama. She was campaigning in Arizona.
Advanced knowledge of any of these activities. Ambassador James Woolsey is on Trump's transition team and former director of the CIA. Good to have you, sir.
Good to be with you.
What do you think of? What do you make of these allegations coming from the Clinton campaign?
Conspiracy theory. There's it's easy to throw around allegations. There is, of course, the Russians, as well as WikiLeaks and Assange and all sorts of people have been hacking all sorts of people and releasing material. The authors of some of these emails probably ought to remember the difference between an email and a diamond. An email is forever. And once you write one of those, even if you are really sorry about what you said back 6 months or a year or two ago, it's still there. And I think there's some drafter's remorse going on, but not a conspiracy with Russia.
And this exchange did happen during the last debate where Hillary Clinton said that Trump would be acting as a puppet for Putin. Listen.
Putin, from everything I see, has no respect for this person.
Well, that's because he'd rather have a puppet as president of the United States.
No puppet.
And it's pretty clear.
You're the puppet.
It's pretty clear you won't admit that the Russians have engaged in cyber attacks against the United States of America, that you encouraged espionage against our people.
What did you make of that exchange?
I think that's when I went out to get a cup of coffee. I far prefer the parts of the debate between the parties which dealt with the serious issues in a serious way.
Do you at this point in the campaign, we have 18 days left to go, do you see the two candidates discussing the necessary issues? Are we having a real conversation?
Sometimes. There are stretches of the debate that I think is the American system on display, and was both were articulate and it went well. But the level of anger and so forth is one that I would like to see disappear from our tradition.
Well, Donald Trump was just holding a campaign rally, and he did touch on Mosul, and he talked about this sneak attack on the city. I want you to listen and get your reaction.
Sure.
How are you going to get these people? These are tough, smart people. What you do is you do a sneak attack or a surprise attack, right? Right? We're too predictable. Here's Obama. We believe they are in Mosul. So in 3 or 4 months, let's see, he goes, 3 or 4 months, we will be attacking Mosul because we want to get the leaders of ISIS. Okay. Well, in the meantime, the following day, they're out of there.
Ambassador?
Well, I think Donald Trump's critique of President Obama's telegraphing his punches is well taken. In war, you want to be surprising and deceptive when you can be, to throw an enemy off as to what you're going to do. At the very least, you don't just broadcast to him and tell him what you're going to do. And this is not the first time. This is maybe the 7th or 8th time in one way or another that Donald Trump has criticized the Obama administration for telegraphing its punches or its going to sleep. And I think it's a critique well made.
And Ambassador, lastly, as you are a member of Trump's national security team, you're an advisor to him. Is he listening to you, do you believe?
I'm not working on the national security issues anymore. I'm doing working as one of the statutory requirements. That's it, working on the transition.
Okay. Ambassador, good of you to be here. Thank you.
Good to be with you.
More problems for Samsung's Galaxy Note 7. They keep on coming after a massive recall and a ban from all flights. Now the phone is being banned from a new area, affecting countless travelers.
Kind of didn't expect this to happen. Yes, we knew that the campaign heavyweights, the surrogates, we get out there, they were going to say all the right things about former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and we expected, frankly, the First Lady, Sandra, to get out there and really talk about her candidacy and why it was important that she be elected President of the United States. But we did not expect her to really get out there and sort of target her chief rival, in this case Donald Trump, which is what she appeared to do in a campaign stop Thursday in Phoenix.
And when a presidential candidate threatens to ignore our voices and reject the outcome of this election, he is threatening the very idea of America itself.
All right, now, as you can well imagine, the White House is feeling very good about the job that Mrs. Obama is doing out there on the campaign trail. And so, Sandra, they say she will be out there on the stump, if you will, up until Election Day if need be.
Here we go. All right, well, the White House also seems to be focusing more on down-ballot races. Why is that, Kevin?
Well, I think there's a sense, and we talked to Josh Earnest, the White House press secretary, about this during the briefing today. There's this sense that they've got this thing won. And so while he said all the right things about avoiding complacency, they feel very strongly about their numbers. And so they're saying, listen, we can focus on other issues like wresting control of the Senate. And he also talked about the fact that the president yesterday really took a shot at Marco Rubio, the Florida senator, and he said that that would probably be something we'd see a lot more of moving forward. And here's why.
His desire to be loyal to his party, his desire to raise money from Republican donors, and not the best interest of the U.S. economy or securing the border or fighting for the kinds of values that he occasionally speaks rather eloquently about on the campaign trail.
Listen, it's a tight race down there in Florida. Rubio will likely win it, but we'll have to see. Speaking of, the president will be out there on the stump on the West Coast this weekend. Of course, we'll bring you all the details right here on Fox News. Samantha, back to you.
All right, Kevin Cork, thank you. Live for us from the White House. For more on this, let's bring in Bree Payton, staff writer for The Federalist, and Alexander Acker-Lyons, former director of the Youth Engagement Fund at the Democracy Alliance and a former National Youth Outreach Director for John Kerry's presidential campaign. Good of both of you to be here. Bree, let's start with this. President Obama slamming Marco Rubio. What is this all about?
Yeah, so basically he's hitting Marco Rubio for once running against Donald Trump and then now endorsing him, which I find this attack to be terribly ironic given that President Obama ran campaign ads basically calling Hillary Clinton a liar in 2008, and now he's doing stump speeches for her and has endorsed her for president. And we know that he isn't doing this because he likes her, because in Hillary Clinton's emails, it indicates that she was routinely excluded from cabinet meetings while she was Secretary of State because they just didn't like having her around. So he's doing this now and delivering stump speeches and helping her out to help out his own party and to keep the Democrats in control of the White House. So I think,
Alexander, let's listen to the president in his own words, calling Marco Rubio one of those people. Listen.
I'm even more confused by Republican politicians who still support Donald Trump. is one of those people. How does that work?
Every great start.
To all the controversial things he says, and then say, but I'm still going to vote for him. Come on, man.
Alexander?
Look, I think the president really made the case better than I ever could in that Marco Rubio, who has said not only that Donald Trump is dangerous and that he doesn't trust him with the nuclear codes, has still supported Donald Trump, who's attacked the Gold Star family, who has said reprehensible things about women, and is still out there just a man out for himself, looking out for his own job, who has said when he ran for president that he did not enjoy being a senator, had an abysmal attendance record in the Senate, and now is asking the voters of Florida to send him back to a job he doesn't even like. So President Obama has really come out to make the case as to why Hillary needs a Democratic Senate, and that's what we're going to hear from the Clinton campaign over these closing weeks as well.
And Bree, Paul Ryan has something to say about this. He has tweeted about it, saying, I was among the first to endorse Marco Rubio during his first Senate run, and I'm proud to stand with him again. Bree, is this a fight for the Senate that we're witnessing here with this exchange with the president?
Oh, definitely. And I think it is true that Donald Trump has made it trickier for Republicans down ballot to regain control of the Senate. And I also think it's telling that most of the people in Senate are kind of keeping their heads down and not commenting on this issue one way or another. So I think that the GOP is very much concerned about whether or not they're going to be able to keep control over the House and the Senate.
All right, and the Big Al Smith dinner was last night, and I want to get your take on a couple exchanges that took place there. It was all in good fun and some tasteful humor, but then there were some interesting jokes that took place. Watch this.
Hillary is so corrupt. She got kicked off the Watergate Commission. How corrupt do you have to be to get kicked off the Watergate Commission? Pretty corrupt.
People look at the Statue of Liberty and they see a proud symbol of our history as a nation of immigrants, a beacon of hope for people around the world. Donald looks at the Statue of Liberty and sees a 4. Maybe a 5 if she loses the torch and tablet and changes her hair.
Harsh. There was certainly some booing in the room, Alexandra.
There was. I was actually quite shocked that Donald Trump got booed by the New York establishment, the very establishment he's tried his whole life to break into. And I think that's what so much of this campaign is about, just the egomaniacal.
You know, I was there and I watched them in between other speeches and eating dinner, and they were speaking with the cardinal between them, and it did appear that they had a cordial exchange for the most part. Bree?
Yeah, the cardinal between them, though, later then said that they had kind of an awkward chemistry together and that things were really tense. I also think it's really interesting that Donald Trump is the one who got booed when Hillary Clinton's people are the ones who have been saying really nasty things about Catholics, which she still hasn't apologized for, by the way.
Come on.
As a Christian, I find it really alarming that Hillary Clinton does surround herself with people who are so hostile to religion. And I think a lot of other voters should be alarmed by that.
All right.
Hillary's a much more devout Christian than Donald Trump could ever pretend to be.
Well, on that note, ladies, I think we'll end it there. There was some nice exchanges last night. It is always about a little bit of humor from the candidates, but it did take a turn at a couple points from both candidates. Thanks to both of you for joining us. Good to have you.
Thank you.
All right, well, a former NSA contractor facing a federal judge today. He's implicated in what the feds are calling a breathtaking hack. That's many times larger than what Edward Snowden stole, and that more charges could be coming, including espionage. Leland Vitter is live in Washington. Leland.
Well, Sandra, at least in the government's eyes, this former Navy man and NSA contractor holds a motherlode of our nation's most secret information and would be an incredibly valuable asset to any foreign government, be it Iran or the Russians, if he chooses to defect. So the hearing today decides if he will be in jail while he awaits trial. This is the prosecutor's argument, saying after betraying the most important trust the United States can grant, the defendant presents a high risk of flight, a risk to the nation and to the physical safety of others. After 20 years of violating the nation's trust and its laws, the defendant now asks the court to place similar trust in him to remain in the United States and abide by any conditions of release set by the court. Obviously, they don't want that to happen. The government says Martin stole secrets over more than a decade, the documents he allegedly kept in his storage shed. Here's a picture of him from his LinkedIn profile. Potentially more valuable of what he stole is the data and the computer codes on hard drives and thumb drives. He worked at the NSA as a contractor. He is now compared to the most famous NSA worker turned traitor, Edward Snowden, who exposed top secret surveillance programs used in the war against terror. Martin may have stolen a lot more. We'll put it in perspective for you now, as the Washington Post did. Prosecutors said he took at least 50 terabytes of data and 6 full banker's boxes worth of documents. 1 terabyte. He knows, Sandra.
Wow. All right, big news. Thank you, Leland Vittert. Lots of people trying to beat the rush this election season by voting early. We know many of you have. But some folks are also trying to beat the crowds by voting absentee. Next up, we'll talk to a Republican Party leader from one state that's on track to break absentee voting records. I'm Harris Faulkner on the Fox News deck. On this Friday ahead, we will speak live with Fox News Sunday anchor Chris Wallace about moderating that final presidential debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Wait until you hear what he has to say specifically about Trump's comments on whether he will accept the results of the election if he loses. Kind of a behind-the-scenes look with Mr. Wallace. Coming up at the top of the hour. I'll see you then. Early voting underway in many states, prompting long lines like this scene in North Carolina, which began early voting yesterday. Its neighbor to the south does early voting a little differently, using absentee ballots. South Carolina is actually on track to break absentee voting records, with about 15 to 20% more voters involved in the absentee process than at this time in 2012, according to election officials. Matt Moore is the chairman of South Carolina's Republican Party, where you are observing what is happening there. What does it tell you?
I think voters are very excited across the country and here in South Carolina. As you said, 15 to 20% ahead of the pace in 2012. In 2012 here, about 400,000 people voted absentee. It's an encouraging sign for Republicans. And across the country, in states like Florida, 1 million votes cast already. We're up by 9%. North Carolina leading. In other states, including Georgia, 25% increases there compared to 2012. Cutting in the margins in Ohio and in Iowa. It's a very, very encouraging sign for the Republican Party.
And you probably saw we were just running a banner there that 1 million absentee ballots have been cast in Florida. Let's talk about that state and Florida voters and what we are seeing there. Republicans, the state reported 989,000 plus Floridians had cast absentee ballots, all right? So those are the numbers. So far, Republicans accounting for 42% and Democrats 40% of the votes made so far there. Your take on what we're seeing in Florida, Matt?
Well, that's very good news for Marco Rubio and Donald Trump and Mike Pence. I talked to some strategists this morning in Florida. This race will be contested basically south of Orlando.
And this didn't just happen by mistake, or it wasn't. This was a concerted effort to get people out to vote early.
Yeah, our party particularly has invested majorly over the last 4 years in data, digital, analytics, the things that give candidates success, giving them all the tools they need to be successful. Here in South Carolina, the Republican Party found about 250,000 absentee applications. So far, we've gotten back tens of thousands of those. We believe of the 48,000 or so votes cast already here in South Carolina for president, that we lead by a significant margin. So we're very confident going to Election Day.
So with just 18 days left to go until Election Day, you do wonder, though, and there is a conversation going on right now because of these trends that we are seeing and record numbers of people voting early. Is that good for the process? Because, you know, a lot of minds can be changed in a couple weeks and a lot still can happen.
Well, I think from a party perspective, we believe we can compete with the Democrats, not only in the mechanics out there in the field, but also on message. And with the policies our party's putting forth, especially in these contested Senate races, where every single vote's going to matter in Florida, Ohio, out across the country. So, like, I've got no problem with early voting. I think Republicans should get on board with more early voting and absentee voting. We can compete out there and win these elections.
All right, Matt Moore, chairman of the South Carolina Republican Party. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, and if you have voted or are about to vote, we want you to be part of our big election night coverage here at the Fox News Channel. Send us a photo like this one from Dennis. In some states, it's against the law to show off who you picked, but here's a before shot of his absentee ballot. Post your picture on Twitter or Instagram with the hashtag Fox News 2016, and you could see it air right here on election night. Have some fun with it. All right, police near Boston looking for a group of teenagers who pulled off a crazy flash mob robbery at a mall. Look at this surveillance video. The thieves storming into an Apple store, cutting the cords of the iPhones on display, all at the same time. Police say they were only in the store for about a minute, but walked out with 19 phones worth about $13,000. All right, the mysterious Bermuda Triangle claiming more than 1,000 planes and ships over the past 5 centuries. Have scientists finally solved this spooky mystery? Plus, a young boy owing his life to a quick-thinking police officer who did the right thing in the nick of time.